Alright, there are two ways to multiply polynomials. The first way is the FOIL method. And the FOIL method is an acronym, so FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, and last. So that means you multiply the first terms together, then the outer terms, then the inner terms, and then the last terms. So really you're just distributing. So think of normal distributive property. You have to remember to multiply the 5 by the 2x and by the minus 3. Okay? Now we're just taking that a step further because we have two binomials at least that we're going to multiply, such as x minus 3 and x plus 4. So this is an example of FOIL. We would do our first terms multiplied, and then we would do our outer terms, the 4 and the x, and multiply. And we would do x times 4 for outer, and then our next up we would have our inner terms, which are the negative 3 times the x. Those are the innermost terms, so we would multiply those. And then the last terms would be the negative 3 and the 4, because they're the second terms in each of those parentheses, so we would multiply those. So you can see there's a lot of arrows going on, which is why this isn't my preferred method, but some of you might like it better than the other way, so I'll show you. So let's go ahead and multiply those out. So first terms, x times x gives us x squared. Outer terms, x times 4 gives me 4x. And then inner terms, and then we do negative 3 times x, those are our inner terms, and we get negative 3x. And then negative 3 times 4 gives us negative 12. Those were our last terms. And now we just combine our like terms. So the 4x minus the 3x gives us 1x, and I bring everything else down. So x squared plus x minus 12. And that's what FOIL looks like. Now I'm going to do an example that has trinomials, and you can see how it gets a little more confusing with all the arrows on the FOIL method, which is why you might want to try the box method instead. Here we go. Actually, I decided to do a trinomial times a binomial. So we multiply the first term by everything, the second term by everything, and then the third term by everything. And you can see it gets a little confusing once you have a trinomial in there. But I'll go ahead and work it out so you can see it. So 3x squared times x squared, our first terms, gives us 3x to the fourth. And then 3x squared times 5x gives us 15x to the third. Notice I'm adding the exponents because I'm multiplying. And then negative 4x times x squared gives us negative 4x to the third. Negative 4x times 5x gives us negative 20x squared. And now I've run out of room. 7 times x squared gives me positive 7x squared. And then if we do 7 times 5x, we get positive 35x. Alright, so if we've made sense of that, we box and circle our like terms. So 15x to the third, negative 4x to the third, negative 20x squared, and positive 7x squared. And then these guys are different from each other. Alright, so just combine your like terms. And it would be 3x to the fourth plus 11x cubed minus 13x squared plus 35x. Alright, so that's what the FOIL method looks like. If you like that one the best, use it. I'm going to show you the box method. Alright, so if we were multiplying x plus 3 and 2x minus 4, you just take one of the binomials in this case and put it so that each term represents a box. So the x can represent my first box, the plus 3 or the positive 3 can represent the second one. Then I want to do the same thing with my 2x minus 4, but I'm doing that for my columns. So 2x, my first term goes there, my second term goes there. And now I'm just going to multiply where the row meets the column. So here, that row meets this column right here, so I multiply 2x times x, and I get 2x squared. And then I'm going to look where the row meets the column, so right here. So x times negative 4 gives me negative 4x. And then where this row meets that column, so 2x times 3 gives me 6x. And then I'm going to do where the row meets the column, so 3 and the negative 4. 3 times negative 4 gives me negative 12. And now all we have to do is simplify. So you're always going to circle the diagonals to simplify. That's the nice thing about the box method. If you've written them in decreasing order of exponents like we have, like you're supposed to in standard form. So 6x minus 4x gives us 2x, and then I just bring down my other two terms, the 2x squared and the minus 12. And I'm done. And I'll show you how the box method works if you're doing a trinomial next. So let's try one more. Alright, so the example 3x squared minus 4x plus 5 times 2x minus 4. Now for the box, we have three terms that are right here. So when we make our box, I have a choice. I can put that on the row or on the column. I'm going to go ahead and put that for the rows. So the 3x squared I'm going to put right here. The minus 4x goes right here. And then the positive 5 goes right here. So just break down your terms. Each term gets a row. And then on top, you're going to put the 2x minus 4. So you have two terms there. So I have 2x and minus 4. So I have two columns. Alright, so for the box method, we just multiply the row and the column in each box where they line up. And you don't need to draw those arrows. I'm just showing that for demonstration. So 3x squared times 2x, multiply your 3 and your 2 and you get 6. And then x squared times x is x to the third. You have to add those exponents. Next I'm going to do the negative 4x and the 2x. And I get negative 4 times 2 is 8, negative 8. And x times x is x squared. Next I'm going to do the 5 times the 2x and I get a positive 10x. And then I do 3x squared times negative 4 and I get negative 12x squared. Next I'm going to do negative 4x times negative 4 and I get positive 16x. And lastly I'm going to do 5 times negative 4, which is negative 20. And now for my favorite part on the box method, the diagonals are going to be like terms. So we can circle those guys and these guys, and we just need to combine them. Alright, and now that we have our diagonals circled there, we're just going to combine our like terms. So the 6x to the third doesn't have a buddy, so we just write 6x to the third. I'm going to combine my two like terms. I get negative 20x squared. Combine my other two like terms, the diagonals, and those are both positive, so I add them. So I get 26x. And then my negative 20 is just hanging out all by its lonesome, so I just bring them over. And that's your final answer. 6x to the third minus 20x squared plus 26x minus 20. Why don't you try one on your own? You can pick your method, and then we will check it. And here you are. Alright, go ahead and write this one down. You can pause the video and try it, and we will check it in just a minute. Again, you can choose your method, foil or box. And here for the solution. I set it up with the box method. Here is my next step on the box method. And my final answer is negative 20x to the third plus 22x squared minus 3x minus 6. Did you get that right? I hope so.